What's up, people? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I got another Ask FP for you. It's a little bit late tonight. I do apologize for that. I also apologize for the draft class running a little late. I had to make some changes. Second rounders, undrafted free agents, get those guys in. But anyway, Andrew Manu, I believe is how you say it. He says, just flat out simple, what is your PSN tag? Well, it is Franchise Play 99. So you want to look me up. Right about now, I got 448,672,104 friends. Not really, but it feels like that. So sometimes it might take me a little bit of a little time to get back to people when they send a friend request, but I usually do get to them. So I appreciate everybody who does that. But yeah, so that's that. Next up, I got something in my eyes. What is going on? All right. Austin Boland says, what do you think the future of the Charlotte Hornets looks like? Not sure, man. I like the Nicholas Batum trade. We'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later on in the show. But I don't know. I still feel Charlotte is looking for the star that's going to lead them. I don't think that guy's on the team right now. Drafting Frank Kaminsky it's a decent piece kind of a thing, but then you hear about, Charlotte not wanting to give up the rights to draft Kaminsky for 4 picks from Boston. So I don't know what's going on there. Just got to see. John Sun says, where do you think Dwayne Wade will end up after free agency? I think that no matter what goes on, Wade ends up back in Miami. If you really look at the team that they're building, they're one of the teams that I felt did the best in the draft. I mean, getting Justice Winslow at number 10 was an exceptional value. Right now, if they can bring back their free agents, they'll have Goran Dragic, Dwayne Wade, Luol Deng, Chris Bosh, and Hassan Whiteside as starting 5, and get Justice Winslow coming off the bench and whomever they can add as pieces in free agency. I think Miami looks good to be a top 3 team in the East next year, maybe even as high as number 2. Devin Martinez says, do you think the New Age Outlaws will be Hall of Famers? That's 100% without a doubt, without a question. Oh, you didn't know? You better call somebody. Yep, absolutely. They're going to be Hall of Famers. They are like the quintessential tag team of the past 20, 25 years. Them, the Hardys, the Edge Christian, the Dudleys. They're right there, right there. So they gotta be Hall of Famers. Next up, we got NBA fan Bulls fan NBA feed. Okay, you got a lot going on there. He says, will you do a Legends roster for 2K16? And if so, will there be different players? I am gonna do one. I pretty much decided that I was gonna do one. Gonna get started on it earlier and ride that sucker consistently until I can finish it. And I'm going to go with a theme, right? And the reason why I'm going to go with this theme is because this will allow me to do this every year. And I'm going to let you guys in on what that theme is going to be closer to the launch and when I start it. But this is, I got something really big that I'm working on for the fall, which is kind of the reason why I've been delaying and that sort of thing. School ends for me September 29th. So yeah, we'll see. NBA fan also says, do you think that Kevin Love will resign with the Cavs, and where do you think David Lee will go? They're trying to trade David Lee is what I understand. I don't really have an idea of where I can say, oh yeah, he's going to end up here. But I definitely think Kevin Love will be going back to Cleveland. Depending on what teams want for David Lee and that sort of thing, I don't know. You'll see. But David Lee can still obviously play. Not a great defender, but he can still play. Chris Houston says, should the 76ers hire Allen Iverson as an assistant GM? Now I want you to listen. Everybody listen to this real good. I love Allen Iverson as a player. I respect what he brought to the game from a swag kind of a standpoint, as well as just being a great player. But every great player don't need to be assistant GM. It just doesn't work. Look at Mike. Mike's not doing that great as an owner, and when he had opportunities to run a team and to be the man making the personnel decisions. Allen Iverson, nothing about him screams, I probably would be good in the front office. Just nothing. So I'm just being honest, right? Weston Flores says, would it be stupid if the Kings traded DeMarcus Cousins? I don't think it would be stupid. I don't know that you can necessarily get fair value, but it's looking more and more like he's not going to ever re-sign with the Kings. He's going to leave as soon as he can. So in that sense, then yes, you would also always want to think about, hey, can we get something for him? If the Lakers would be dumb enough to give up D'Angelo Russell, Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, and a pick, then absolutely the Kings should do it. But hopefully the Lakers are not that dumb. I mean, Lakers they got some stuff going, and I don't think they even need to trade for DeMarcus Cousins, to be honest. Weston Flores says, when do you think Big E will become a world champion in WWE, and would you be interested in a Brock versus Big E feud? I don't think Big E is ever going to be the world. I don't think. That's just me personally. I'm not saying I don't like him so much on the mic. He's okay. But in the ring, he's really good. But I just don't. WWE don't have a long history of rewarding minorities, period. And I just don't think Big E's good enough on the mic. But in the ring, Big E Brock would be good. But who's going to carry that feud on the mic? Neither one of them are good on the mic. Paul Heyman's got to carry it for both of them. And I don't think that works out. Weston Flores also says, is Jay Lethal the most underrated pro wrestler today? He is very underrated because he's excellent on the mic. He's very good in the ring. A little bit older now, but a lot of people don't know he used to date AJ Lee a long time ago. But I don't. Is he the most underrated one? He's up. I guess he would be up there. But I mean, there's guys in the WWE who don't get the credit they deserve. Dolph Ziggler, Antonio Cesaro, so Damian Sandow. So I don't know if I can single out Jay Lethal and say he's the most underrated. Ty Bud says, my Trailblazers just lost Nicholas Batum to the Hornets. What do you think about the move and who won this deal? Well, if you're just looking at it from an on-court basketball standpoint for face value, I think it's clear Charlotte won the deal. But it's bigger than that for the Trailblazers. First and foremost, they want to clear enough cap space to get LaMarcus Aldridge to come back, which is looking dim. And they want to be able to put players around him, one or two players around him. So they had to clear this money to be able to do that. So Batum moving him made sense. But we're going to have to see what Portland is able to do with the cap space that this move provided them to find out who really truly won this deal. I think it's more than just a first step type of evaluation you have to give for this. Connor Massey says, did you play any sports in high school? I played sports, but I didn't play on teams. And one of the biggest reasons why is because I was kind of bad in high school. I was kind of bad. I didn't go to class a lot. Yeah, it was kind of rough. So, but I've grown up. I've matured. Thank God. I've God in my life. I'm different than I was in high school. But in high school, I wasn't the best behaved person. So, that kept me from doing a lot of stuff. But I was pretty good enough. I know I was good enough to play basketball, probably good enough to play football, quarterback, or tight end, and I'm pretty sure I probably could play some baseball too. I could always play sports pretty well, and I could play well with people who were on the team. But you don't do what you're supposed to do. You don't get to do things you might want to do. Connor Massey says, "What are your thoughts on 3-on-3 overtime now in the NHL?" I like it. I think, it's a novel, kind of a novelty thing, and I think it's going to open it up, make it extremely exciting, have people actually really, really looking forward to the overtime. Can you imagine 3-on-3 overtime in the NHL playoffs? NHL playoffs is already awesome, which I've been really realizing this over the last 4 years. And now 3-on-3, man, listen, that should be really good, really good. Connor also says, do you think that JD Martinez is one of the best hitters in baseball right now? I think he's having one of the best years. I don't know if I would say he's one of the best hitters in baseball right now. What does he have, like 20 home runs right now? And he's also on a really good lineup where he's got protection everywhere. So I think he's having one of the best years. I don't know if he's been doing what he's supposed to be doing for long enough to say he's one of the best hitters in baseball. I think that's kind of like a more of a widespread or wide-ranging type of a comment. So King Nero says, is it a way to download created players without downloading the whole roster? Not this year. I remember there were times back in the day when you could do that, right? But you can't do that anymore. You used to be able to just make a player DNA for this guy or whatever, but now you have to do the whole roster. I mean, there may be some sort of workaround that I haven't quite figured out yet, but from what I understand, no, you got to do a whole roster, which, you know, I would say that I don't think it's a major drawback, but it is what it is. Brandon Valorio says, what do you think about the Hornets offseason moves up to this point? Well, overall, which we talked a little bit about the Hornets here today, but overall, I don't think Charlotte has had a horrible offseason. I got a lot of Charlotte fans, huh? I mean, and I ain't even get to, you know, Matt Price yet. We know how he rolled. But, yeah, I don't think it's been horrible. Frank Kaminsky's a nice addition, spread the floor. But like I said, man, where's the star? Is it Kemba Walker? Is that what it is? Is it Al Jefferson? And do you have a coach that's able to run that team like Atlanta was run last year in the offseason? I don't think so. So we'll see. Simon Torvey Sumlin says, what did you think of the Pacers pick Miles Turner? Should they have drafted another player? I know what they were doing. They're pretty much anticipating they're going to let Roy Hibbert go in whatever way, fashion, shape of fashion. I think it's going to be a trade. I'm not a big fan of Miles Turner. He's not very athletic. His jump shot isn't developed enough for me to be able to call him like a stretch 4, stretch 5 type of a player. He's a good shot blocker, but athletically he is really limited. And I just don't understand, you know, that's one of Hibbert's biggest drawbacks. So you're letting one guy go. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think there were other guys that maybe would have been better fits. It could have helped them better right now, but, you know. Golden State fan says, do you think that teams made a mistake passing up Robert Upshaw, Cliff Alexander, or Aaron Harrison? The last two, no. I kind of like Cliff Alexander, but I think he needed another year for sure, and I think he's about 2 or 3 years away, and he's got to work really hard. But Robert Upshaw, maybe, because I definitely think the talent and everything is there for him to be an NBA player, a starter at some point soon. But obviously, it's the character concerns. We don't know what teams dug up as they did closer or deeper examination, because you know teams looked at him. 7 foot, 7'6" wingspan, humongous hands, history as a shot blocker, but they dug on him, and apparently every single team with a pick felt that he wasn't worth the gamble. So that makes you wonder what was found on him. Simon Torvey Sumlin also says, which of the second-round draft picks do you see doing very well in the NBA? Jordan Mickey to Boston, for sure. Josh Richardson to Miami. I like that a lot. Tyler Harvey to Orlando, I thought also was an excellent pick. Those are the 3 that stand out to me the most. Golden State Fan 30 says, do you think it's a good idea for 2K to let us design our own plays for my GM to a certain extent? Let's see. I think designing your own plays in basketball is a bit different than designing them in football. I think, you know, Madden designing plays, I think totally makes sense. I'll be totally honest with you. I'm not sure enough people understand how to design a play in basketball to make that a widespread or widely used feature. And if it's not going to be a widely used feature, you can bet 2K's probably not going to deal with it. They have their analytics and their systems that gauge which modes are being played the most. And I don't think that's a feature that'll get a lot of run. That's my honest opinion. Sharuk Rahat says, who would you take with 2 minutes in the game left? Prime Tom Brady or prime Joe Montana? Love Tom Brady, think he's a winner, he's an awesome guy and all that, but because of the mobility of a prime Joe Montana, not old Joe Montana, but prime Joe Montana, he could move and throw on the run as well as just about any guy you'll find. And because of that, in 2 minutes, because plays break down and all that sort of thing, I would take prime Joe Montana because of the mobility. Sharuk Rahat also says, does J.J. Watt go down as the best offensive lineman in history? Personally, he thinks that he does. I think it's a little bit early to make a claim like that. You got to think about, you got defensive linemen that are far more accomplished and were just as dominant in their day, like Reggie White, Mean Joe Green. You know, you got guys like that. I mean, Bruce Smith, you know, big time guys that were super dominant, and Reggie White is definitely a comparison because he moved around on the defensive line just like Watt. Now Watt's had some great seasons, but I think he needs a little bit more longevity before we can give him that tag. Sharuk also says, do you think the WWE should have Roman Reigns turn heel in one of the next few pay-per-views? It's a thought to have him jump back to the Shield because I think the fans liked him better that way. And, you know, the heat that he gets from the crowd would work out more. I think it's turning a little bit anyway. I mean, you still hear some boos, but it's not as bad as it was when he first, you know, I think they were right to pull the reins on him being erected up to be the champion. But I don't know. I still think let's see him get a little bit more, see what happens in the next 2 pay-per-views and see how well the crowd takes to him as a face. Matt Price says, what do you think of the term Chirac? Matt always with the heavy questions, right? I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate the fact that it seems as though the horrible state, and if you live here, then you would know better. But the horrible state that Chicago is in regards to violence is being glamorized with a term that people are using in movies, people are using in hip hop. You know, I've heard cats, well, I'm from Chirac, dog. This is where I'm from, pimp. You know, these are looking like a straight goofy. You glorifying the fact that your kids can't go outside and play because they might get caught with a stray bullet. You glorifying the fact that people got teenagers they scared to let walk to the store. That ain't good. You know, it might sound cool on a song or in a movie, but in real life that ain't good, man. So we should not be accepting that term at all. You know, Matt Price also says, will Jimmy Butler be a Chicago Bull next season? I can answer that really quickly. Absolutely. They've already extended the qualifying offers to him. They have control over where he plays next year, and they have made it clear they're not letting Jimmy Butler walk. So that's automatically going to happen. Matt Price also said, who leaves Sacramento Kings first, Coach Carl or DeMarcus Cousins? Man, that's actually a pretty good question. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they both left at the same time, to be honest, because I don't really think there's a future in either one of those guys. I don't think George Karl is a championship coach. I think he's one of those guys like Tom Thibodeau that'll get his team right up there to the edge, but won't ever get over the hump. And Cousins has not proven to me he's a winning basketball player yet. I think he's probably the most talented center in the league, but he's not a winning basketball player yet. So there's that. Tyler Knowles says, this is a question from my brother. Well, I appreciate your brother chiming in. When do you think Nikki Bella will lose her Divas championship? I think they're trying to build up a little bit to see who gets the most following between Naomi and Tamina, and I think one of them should take the title from Nikki, in my personal opinion. I think Nikki's been a great champion, though. Nikki's, I think, underrated. I think Brie's horrible, but I think Nikki's underrated, and she's been decent. She's been pretty decent considering, you know, the Divas division is horrible, just overall. So, you know. Tyler Noel also says, do you think that Floyd will fight Aamir Khan in September? I think it's a very good chance. I think he probably will. I think Floyd is playing with everybody with this Andre Berto, Kareem Mayfield thing. I do. I actually also think that the Floyd Khan fight is going to be on PBC. I do. I think it's going to be on PBC, on NBC, because I just think he's going to do something where it's like I owe it to the fans type of a thing, and I think his fight's going to be on free TV. So you heard it here first. It's either going to be this one, or if he decides to come back for the 50-0, it's going to be this one or that one's going to be on free TV. You watch it. The Golden State Fan 30 says, what are your thoughts on Joel Embiid? I pray that this guy gets healthy, but he has big bust written all over him right now, and it's all going to be about injury. If he misses a whole nother season, he's a very young dude, maybe not as mature as you might want, and we don't know about the work ethic. He's going to have to work his butt off to get back right. I mean, and he's been sitting up here collecting dough You know what I mean? And that this could happen to any of us. You know, you get lax, and man, I'm telling you. So I don't know if he'll ever be able to. You know, you got to get that hunger, and is the hunger there? And that's the question. So when he is ready to come back, is he going to really be able to apply himself? Golden State Fan 30 says, what do you think that your Bulls need to target in the free agency? I really, man, to be honest, I really felt and think that they need a point guard, a backup point guard, which is the reason why I wanted DeLon Wright to get them to draft DeLon Wright. I think they need a point guard who is not only capable of backing up Derrick Rose, but not just a stopgap guy like Aaron Brooks, Nate Robinson, DJ Augustine. They need a guy who, because I don't think Rose should play more than about 60 games this season. And they need a guy who can start 22 times and be there in the event, God forbid, something else happened to D. So that's what I think. I think a point guard should be number one on their list for me personally. Now, if you can get Wesley Matthews and play small forward, we got to move some guys around, to make the salary. But I think that would be great too. Dip Jones says, do you think the NFL will ever end? Seeing how so many players are deciding to retire because of injury, the head injuries. I think that's really a good question. It might sound preposterous, but I don't think it's preposterous. I think that I don't think it'll ever go away. I think it's too much money in it for it to go away. But I can see the game changing so much that people who watch it now won't even recognize it in 10 years. I really could. But I don't think it'll ever go away. I appreciate you watching. Subscribe, follow. Peace!